and faculty members. We are glad to welcome you to this webinar that we're going to talk about the double degree program at Missouri University. And we will have with us two special guests from Missouri University, Ryan Griffin, the Director of the Office of International Admissions, and Dr. James Noble, the Chair of the Industrial and Manufacturing System Engineering Department. Thank you, Ryan, and thank you, Dr. James, for staying with us this afternoon and share information with our students. I would like to turn things over to Ryan Griffin.
Yeah, thank you so much, and thanks to everyone joining us this afternoon. So as a brief overview, I'm going to start out by providing a overview of the University of Missouri, kind of a general academic profile. We'll also then look at where we're located here in the city of Columbia, Missouri, take a little bit of a look at where you would be living if you choose to come and participate in the dual degree program with us. And then Dr. Noble will launch into some more of the details about the program itself. So what you could expect to study if you were to come and join us on this program. And then lastly, we'll look at some of the actual details of how to go about applying, some of the scholarships that are available, and what that process looks like for getting your U.S. student visa and then arriving here to study with us on campus. So we'll go ahead and kick off here. So the University of Missouri, or as you can see, the name Mizzou, which is a nickname that we are frequently called here in the United States. So you might hear Dr. Noble and I kind of interchanging those two at the same time. It's very common to hear us called Mizzou. We're a large public research university. We right now have over 31,000 students as part of our campus community, so obviously very large. And by comprehensive, we currently have over 300 different degree programs available on our campus. Now, obviously today we're going to be focusing in on one of those programs, but I think it is important to note that certainly the field of industrial and manufacturing systems engineering is one that has a lot of connections with other fields. And studying on a comprehensive university campus like Mizzou's provides you the opportunity to have interdisciplinary studies and interactions with students that are studying in other areas that can help you to prepare for your future career. So some of the other programs that we offer on campus, besides what we're going to focus in here today, include journalism. We actually have the world's oldest school of journalism, and it's typically rated as one of the top journalism schools worldwide. Of particular importance, our Trulas College of Business, something that obviously is going to be intertwined with your studies within industrial and manufacturing systems engineering. As well as then a full comprehensive range of programs in agriculture, food and natural resources, health professions. Our campus actually does include a medical school and actually has 4 different hospitals that are associated with it as well. We are in fact proud to be a member of a group called the Association of American Universities, or the AAU, as that's often abbreviated. This is a group of just 66 universities here within the United States and Canada that have been invited to be a member of this group that really stands out academically for their research and teaching prowess. There's only 38 public universities that have been invited to be a member of that group. And so these are some of the very top schools across the United States and Canada. And we are very proud to be kind of associated with that membership. Now, one of the big components I mentioned to that AAU membership is research. So we are a very research intensive campus. In fact, we typically have a research budget of over 200 million US dollars per year that go into research projects on campus. And that's something that, again, really attracts and brings us top faculty from around the world who are wanting to come here to not only be able to pursue their research interest areas, but also then to be able to interact and teach our students. So it's something that we think really provides us with an advantage to our students that come and study with us through this. And then at the bottom, I've mentioned that we use a teaching methodology here on our campus that's called the Missouri Method. Now, this was something that was created in our School of Journalism back when they were founded back in the early 1900s, 1908 in fact. And what it does is it emphasizes hands-on learning or experiential learning as part of your degree program. Now, Dr. Noble's going to get certainly more in depth with that when we come to his part of the presentation. But just as an idea, it is one where we really make every effort to incorporate these sorts of hands-on experiential learning opportunities into every degree program that we offer across campus. So now that we've kind of been introduced to Mizzou, and before I switch slides, I would point out that the photo that we have here, this is our central quad on campus. The columns that run across the center of this are a very iconic view of the University of Missouri. They are what remains of our old academic hall that actually burned down well over 120 years ago, but they've been kind of left there as a symbol of the university, and they sit right in front of actually where Dr. Noble and I are currently at. So the College of Engineering is just off the side of the quad, so right centrally located in campus, and our main administrative building with this white cupola here, that's Jesse Hall, and so both sit right on the central quad. Would also mention that our entire campus is a registered botanical garden. So the green spaces that you can see here really are all across our campus. It's also wonderfully manicured, so it creates wonderful open green spaces for students to be able to come together, obviously in the time of COVID now, to even come together safely outside, but to enjoy a really beautiful open air area. So speaking of your study locations, if you would come to join us on this program, we're located in the city of Columbia. Now, many people here will kind of shorten Columbia, Missouri to its nickname of Como. So I know you're getting hit with a lot of nicknames today. Mizzou, or the University of Missouri, that's located in Columbia, Missouri, or Como. But the city of Columbia, Missouri, or Como, is a fairly small-sized city here in the United States. So the population is about 120,000 residents. If you recall, our university has over 30,000 students that are involved with it. So in the US, this is what is typically called a college town. Very young, typically very mobile, very dynamic. We're one of actually 3 different universities that are located in the city of Columbia. So along with our population of students, these other schools bring in many students as well, and it does create a very lively and young city. Because of our size, we're also a very safe city here in the United States. So we have a wonderful downtown area that you kind of get a shot of here. It connects directly to our campus, so everything is really within walking or certainly biking distance. You're able to access many of the different parks, the restaurants, and different entertainment options that students may be interested in, that they're able to take advantage of right in the center of the city. Now, for a little even broader view, the state of Missouri is the one that's highlighted in gold on the U.S. map there. So we're right in the center. We like to say we're right in the center of it all. So it's certainly, you're getting a dose of the real Americana, right? The center of the United States. And this is a region that's known as the Midwest, which is often known for being very friendly. So even compared to maybe some of our U.S. compatriots in, say, the East Coast or West Coast, Midwesterners are known to be very friendly, very accommodating, and it's also something that we think is important for students, is that it has a little bit lower cost of living if you're going to live in the center of the United States, as opposed to maybe some of the cities that some of you have maybe visited. But Columbia is an incredibly welcoming and diverse community, and certainly welcoming to our international students that come to study with us. Now, I mentioned earlier that our campus in general is all a registered National Botanical Garden. I would certainly encourage you to visit the link that's here on the slide to be able to take a virtual tour of our campus. It will allow you to see those beautiful outdoor green spaces, but then also to actually delve into and look at some of the facilities here on campus, including those for our College of Engineering. So being able to see some of the laboratories, some of the areas where you would actually be able to work and pursue your studies. And so with that, I'm now going to turn things over to Dr. Noble to get into the details of the dual degree program that we have there with Mackenzie Presbyterian. Dr. Noble?
Thank you, Ryan. Yes, so excited to be able to share with you about this dual program that we've worked on over the last several years, and it's exciting to be able to offer it now. Go through it real quick and hit some of the courses in particular that a student would be taking at Mizzou. If you look at the overall program, 93 credit hours are at McKinsey. So there's about 60 or 58 credit hours that are left to take at Mizzou. When we look at those in terms of the things that are covered within that, some of the things that you'll be getting some of the background, obviously, in some of your courses that you'll have at McKinsey, and then we're looking at kind of the junior senior year part of it. For us, we're a 4-year degree program, so the junior senior courses are the ones that students will be taking here. We have one that looks first at just systems and starting to think about how do you look at a problem from a systemic perspective and all the interactions that go into that. And then there's the core 3 classes there that are kind of the tools of industrial engineering, linear optimization, operations research. It's looking at stochastic models, and then simulation, using a simulation package called SimEO. So those are kind of the toolbox, I think, that for a lot of what we have. And I would also add, not in the right order, but on down toward the end there where I have the data analytics, data engineering is another part of the toolbox within that. And then we have some of our design courses. We have 2 that are looking at operations. And we think, and I know your professors there at McKinsey talk about, what industrial engineers look at. When we talk about a production system, it's not just a production system that's making things, but it's really pretty much any process. That could be a hospital system. It could be a entertainment flow system, or a logistics system, all kinds of things. And so in our production system design classes, we're looking at that. We separate the first one is kind of more on the structural issues associated with that problem, and then the second one is more on the operations issues associated with production. Then we have our quality systems design, and then ergonomics and workstation design, which is looking at how you interface people into that. In particular, some of our faculty have expertise in the cognitive side of human factors, and so that's included within that course. And then I'll hit the capstone design in a little bit more depth in the next slide. But before I do that, I'll note here that we have a couple certifications that a student can get as they're going through the program. The Lean Six Sigma Green Belt is a 1 credit hour class that builds upon the course material that's covered in the other courses that a student would take. So that's an option for the student to get that. And you actually do a project working with a company to finish out and apply the Six Sigma methodology. And then we have a joint supply chain, global supply chain management certificate that we do at the business school. And so in that case, you take courses both from industrial engineering and the business school, and that can be done within the context of the program. And then we have our capstone design, which is the next slide. So our capstone projects are 100% embedded within industry. And so the students are basically consultants for those companies for kind of a semester and a half. We kind of do a half semester introduction to things, and then we dive in and start working at those companies. And there's a whole range of places that they go. And so I just took some pictures that we've had over the past couple of years. Some of them are manufacturers. In this particular, I guess I'm looking at on the far right. That picture is in a company called American Air Filter, who over this past year and a half has had their demand massively explode as air filtration has become a very crucial infrastructural issue in the U.S. and the world. Their products actually go. They actually have product in the White House. They have them in nuclear submarines. They provide the filters for probably any chip semiconductor manufacturer in the United States. A lot of the data centers. So they're a smaller company that's based has a large manufacturing plant here that has a huge impact. On the left-hand side, those are projects that are in logistics companies. And so they're both kind of e-fulfillment organizations. One's called Scholastic, which is the largest provider of books to grade school and middle school children in the United States. They actually ship 1 million books a day out of that facility. And then the one at the bottom is another e-fulfillment company here in town. And then so we have manufacturing, we have logistics, and then 2 in the middle are actually healthcare related. One was actually at a orthodontics office, looking at the processes and the scheduling issues associated with that. And then we had one that was looking at the veteran hospital here in town, looking at distribution issues associated with in their pharmacy. We also work with the university hospital. As Ryan mentioned, we have the med school and the university hospitals, several different ones here, and so we work with those on these capstone projects. So there's a broad range, and students get a great experience to really get in and get working with the company. It's not just a data set. I guess what I want to say, we spend a lot of our time in our classes just solving problems in the back of the book or having a written up case study. But in this case, you have to define the problem, and you get to work and come up with a solution that using the background. So it's a great experience. So next slide. So the students also have a range of different kinds of organizations to get involved with. And so, we have the two that are for all students to be involved with, the IISE, which is the International Industrial Engineering Institute of Industrial and Systems Engineering. And so a very active chapter in that, do plant tours, have speakers, and a range of service opportunities. Society of Manufacturing Engineers does a lot of some of the same things. They actually do some joint things, and also are looking specifically at manufacturing. Then we have our Honor Society, which any student that's within the program can become a member of Alpha Pi Mu, and there's a percentage, a GPA-based percentage of students that get admitted to Alpha Pi Mu. And then there are a range of competitions, which I think are great opportunities for the students to get involved with, whether it be the simulation competition that IISE does, or there's logistics or capstone design competitions that they do, health management systems, and then we also have the material handling student design competition that our students get involved with. So it's a great opportunity to get on a team, work with some students within the department on something that I think will expand your teamwork skills and chance to do something that's a little bit unique. And then on the next slide, we talk about just kind of the places our students have gone. I think it's, we go to school and then what do we do when we get done? And so if you look at the kinds of places that our students either get full-time positions when they graduate, or they've had internships or co-ops over this past couple years, you can see, the big names fundamentally. And we're a smaller department when it comes down to it, but our students actually get multiple offers from these different organizations. So everything from various kinds of manufacturing in the food industry to electronics, and then obviously like Boeing, major transportation, and then you have Disney, which Disney actually has the largest industrial engineering group, one of the largest industrial engineering groups in the U.S. To enginear the entertainment experience at Disney World, Disneyland, and then also they have sites all around the world. And our students actually, one of our students, I remember when he came back, he was telling me about he was actually working on the Disney park that was being set up in Tokyo, but he's working on it based out of Orlando there. So, and then we have students that get involved in financial sides of things, logistics, healthcare. Students are getting great opportunities as a result. Next slide gives a little overview of just who we are as a faculty. We have 11 faculty in our department, and so in terms of the expertise areas, and this kind of ties back when Ryan mentioned about the fact that we're a AAU Research One university. Our faculty are involved in their teaching, and they're also involved in their research. And one of the things that we do quite well, I think, at Mizzou is an opportunity is to get involved in undergraduate research. I mean, we typically think of the research part as part of the graduate program. We have a master's and a PhD program where students are doing their own research for their degrees, but we also get students involved in undergraduate research. And so it's something, if you have an interest, then we can explore that and find that opportunity for you. So the things that our faculty are working in, we have several faculty that are involved in applied operations research, addressing a lot of different issues. So it could be public policy, it could be kind of network design. I mean, all different kinds of things that are kind of in the energy systems, a lot of places you can apply industrial engineering, operations research. Then we have faculty that are involved in data analytics, and so I always differentiate. When we look at different departments, they talk about different. Many will talk about data analytics, but fundamentally, as IEs, our objective is not just to generate the algorithm, which we do, but how do you actually make better decisions based upon that? And so we have faculty involved in that. I have several faculty that are involved in kind of new transportation systems and analysis of the operational issues and parameters necessary to make those become a reality. So drone systems or Hyperloop, things like that. How do we actually make those things become a reality? I have quite a few faculty involved in the healthcare system side, and so they're looking at how the optimization of different aspects of the healthcare system, whether it be from the people side, and as Dr. Kim, you see him listed as an human-computer interaction as well. He's doing healthcare from a human-computer interaction side, and then we have others that are looking at cold logistics, scheduling of operating rooms, things like that. Faculty involved in quality, and then almost half of us, I guess, are involved in the supply chain logistics side of things. And we have a research center that is a graduated National Science Foundation, IUCRC, in logistics. And so that's an area that we continue to work a lot. So that's an overview of our program. If you go to our website, there's links on these different topic areas. There's videos of me. I've gone through talking about different aspects of our program. I have student testimonials as well that are there that you can look at. So there's a lot of different information that can be found on it's imse.missouri.edu. So I will leave it for now and turn it back to you, Ryan.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Noble. And so to finish up, and we will have some time at the end for questions. So if any of you have some things kind of percolating there that you'd like to be able to ask us at the end, we certainly will save some time for that. But I do want to go into a little bit of the direct process of how you would go about applying. So number one, would want to mention that here in the U.S., our academic calendar looks a little bit different than the Brazilian calendar. So as Dr. Noble mentioned, we're very close to welcoming our students onto campus to start our fall term, which will be the new academic year. It kind of spans the yearly calendar by starting in August, and then the first term will run up to December. We then have a break for holidays, for the Christmas holiday, and then our second term typically runs from mid-January through about mid-May. We often then have what is the North American summer, the months of June and July, off for students. It's also a great time for students to be able to actually be involved in some of those either undergraduate research projects that Dr. Noble mentioned, or for students to undertake maybe an off-campus experiential learning opportunity. So maybe an internship with some of those companies that we looked at, or the ability to kind of get a head start on their future employment. So students can actually decide to start with us either in the fall term, so starting in August. Again, that's our probably biggest intake because it does match the U.S. academic calendar, but that spring intake or starting in January is also a possibility. For either of those terms, the application is open up to 1 year in advance. You certainly don't need to apply that far in advance. We would recommend maybe about 6 months. It's an online application, so students are able to go complete the application and then pay the application fee. Our office, my office, would then work with the team there at McKinsey Presbyterian to receive the academic transcripts that we would need to review students for their admissibility. And then the only other piece that would be required is students to show proof of English proficiency. Now, the most common exam that we're seeing right now that students are taking is the Duolingo English test. Many students are finding it preferable because of its ability to be taken at home, and certainly in a time where we're worried and conscious of being in large crowds or testing centers, then something like that can be a little bit more manageable for students. Once those documents are all received, my team would work to review students to figure out their grade point average, which would then be used to determine if they're admissible to the program, as well as if they would qualify for any of our transfer scholarships. So you see that we have 2 levels to that transfer scholarship possibility. The lower level is for students that have earned at least a 3.0 GPA on the US 4.0 scale. So typically on the 10-point Brazilian scale, that's usually somewhere around about a 7.5 to 8. So depending on your coursework, if your overall average is in that neighborhood, then this is something that may be a possibility. That lower level does provide for a 50% waiver of the non-resident tuition fee. At our current tuition rates, that's a little over 8,000 US dollars per year. So it is a sizable scholarship. For students that have really excelled at their studies there at McKinsey, and they're able to earn what is a 3.9 GPA on the 4-point scale. So now we're talking students that are kind of up in that 9.0 or above range on the Brazilian 10-point scale. Then they can actually have the full non-resident portion of tuition waived. Again, right now that's about a $16,000 to $17,000 yearly scholarship for students, and that would be one that could be renewed for both of the years that it would take to complete your dual degree, to receive those bachelor's degrees both from McKinsey and from Mizzou. Now, after students apply and they're admitted and we've informed them of their scholarship, a little bit about what those next steps look like. So for students that would then choose to accept that offer, there is a $300 enrollment fee that's a one-time fee. We would then also need to require some documentation to be able to issue what's called the I-20 document. So that is a document that students would then use to be able to receive an interview at the consulate or embassy there throughout Brazil. So I know there is one in Sao Paulo for students that are there. If students happen to be located in Brasilia, Rio, other cities, maybe if they're just in Sao Paulo studying at McKinsey and then back home, also options for being able to conduct that interview there. Once the interview is conducted, then students typically have that information back as to if they've been approved for their visa within just a few days. And thankfully, we've actually been hearing from many Brazilian students right now who are about to join us on campus that process is now running again at kind of full speed. It had been delayed and actually completely shut down for a little bit due to some of the COVID precautions, but now it's really back up and running. And then students would be able to, prior to arrival on campus, participate in one of our online orientation programs. So either summer welcome, so that's what would be occurring now. I know it's winter there, we're flipped in our seasons, but here in North America it's summer. And so the students who are preparing to join us and start their classes here in just a few weeks have been able to go through our summer welcome program. So they're able to meet with an academic advisor, start to prepare their first semester's classwork, as well as then have opportunities to actually connect with other incoming Mizzou students within their program, as well as other incoming international students. Once that online orientation happens, we then also have an in-person orientation that takes place in the week before classes start. So international orientation will allow students to come and learn about all the rights and responsibilities that go along with their F1 student visa. One of those that I think is important to mention is that it does actually allow students post-graduation to remain here in the United States and work for at least 1 year. So some of those different employment opportunities that Dr. Noble had mentioned previously, we're obviously always very pleased to see some of our international students take advantage of those types of opportunities without having to go through the sometimes difficult U.S. visa system. So they're able to remain on their student visa while being able to search out and work and find those employment opportunities. And then once students graduate, once they're on campus, they've gone through that orientation, then coursework would start. And it's also important to note that student visas are multiple entry visas. So as we mentioned, during those breaks, maybe over the Christmas break, or maybe if students are wanting to travel back home during that summer term, then they're able to come and go as they would wish, right? So they're able to go back, visit family within Brazil, and then be able to easily travel back to the United States. So that's a little bit of an overview of the application process and the visa process that would come after. And as mentioned, we now have some time available. If there's any questions from faculty members or from students that are attending the webinar today, then Dr. Noble and I would be happy to answer those.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Dr. James. Students, please feel free to ask if you may have some questions. We have some time.
And I would also point out that with our contact information there, I know how sometimes when you're on camera and when you're trying to think of the question you have, it doesn't come right then, but maybe as you get a little further into your thoughts afterwards, you're certainly welcome to reach out to us via email. We'd also be happy to respond in that manner.
Yes, I also would like to remember that the application at UPM, it's open to this program. And I don't know if my colleague Aline would like to talk a little bit about the process.
Yes, of course. I will talk in Portuguese for the student can understand good. Então, o edital está aberto agora, vai ficar aberto até o final do mês de agosto, para aplicação nesse processo seletivo. O aluno tem que entrar no sistema de mobilidade, fazer um pré-cadastro conosco, inserir as informações que constam no nosso edital, que é a situação curricular, tanto a que vocês emitem no sistema TIA, quanto a tradução desse documento, o passaporte, que tem que estar válido, o idioma, se o aluno fez monitoria, iniciação científica, tem todos os documentos que o aluno precisa apresentar para a gente, tá? E aí é feito o processo seletivo em cima dos alunos que fizeram a inscrição e a quantidade de vagas que a gente tem disponível para essa oferta de parte da bolsa, né, que é 50% de tuition fee, e é feita a seleção e tem o cronograma de todas as publicações, então dos candidatos que se inscreveram e dos finalistas que realmente conseguiram a vaga. Após esse processo é feita a nomeação para a universidade e aí toda a documentação é encaminhada para eles, tanto o idioma quanto o passaporte, para eles já começarem a organizar o dossiê de vocês por lá. Em seguida, a universidade contata esses alunos com as informações do application e o que vocês precisam fazer na parte para conseguir o visto. Então, eles dão todo o suporte para o aluno, desde a hora que a gente faz a nomeação até a hora que o aluno embarca e chega lá na universidade, eles dão todo esse suporte. E a COI também, a gente faz todo esse suporte com o aluno, tanto na obtenção do visto, a gente passa informação como que o aluno vai ficar na parte de matrícula aqui na UPM, o aluno ele fica isento durante a mobilidade, ele fica isento de mensalidade, então o aluno ele só paga a matrícula, que é para manter o vínculo. Então, a gente dá todo esse suporte do início ao fim. Qualquer dúvida que vocês tiverem, vocês podem entrar em contato conosco no e-mail coi.alunos, no plural, @mackenzie.br.
Thank you, Aline.
Welcome.
So, Aline explained for the students all the process and documents and all they need to apply. For one more time, thank you, Ryan, and thank you, Dr. James, for sharing this information. And a good afternoon for everyone.